guys, I'm back from the Sunshine Coast and had such an amazing experience up there. So my flight left early in the morning after I dropped the carries off at the airport. So it was kind of not fun for me to get up super early. But I made it, got to the airport, got on the plane, and flew all the way up to the Sunshine Coast. So I arrived at the Sunshine Coast at like 6:30, 7 a.m. So I had a full day of exploring and fun to do. I didn't really know exactly what to do, so I just kind of ventured up and down the coast. So I found a beach and just kind of hung out on the beach and kind of made my way to Calandra, where my hostel was going to be. So it's probably about 30 kilometers, so I had to take a bus down and deal with that, but that was okay. And kind of make my way down the coast to Calandra. So I stopped in a few little towns, did a little bit of thrift shopping because that's what I love to do, and eventually made it there. Kind of, this hostel is very sketchy, personally. One of the worst ones I've stayed at. It was very run down and old looking, but I mean, it's a bed, so I survived. But I was very nervous to go there. So that day, after I had put my stuff down and got situated there, I left as soon as I could and got on the bus and went all the way back up north and went to the Noosa Heads, which is probably about 2 hours away from Calandra by bus. And it's basically just another beach up there, but it's super popular for holiday destinations. So I went up there and then kind of just hung around, explored a little bit, and came back down to Calandra by bus, and it was already that evening, so the day went by super fast. And so the next day was the Australia Zoo day 1. So I had to take a bus over to a train station and then get on this train one stop and go to Birwa station. And then from Birwa, it's about 1.5 kilometers, so not very far. I didn't know how to get to the zoo, so I put on my bag and started walking on the road and walked the 1.5 kilometers down the street to the zoo. Probably looked really strange, but I don't really care. So all these signs of the Australia Zoo are on the way, so that was really cool. And right when you walk in, they have all these animals. So right in the front was this eagle and a crocodile and a echidna, another lizard of some sort. So that was really cool to get to see. And so this day, on day 1, was my cheetah encounter. So I had that at 11:30, so I had a few hours to kill. So I just walked around, found some crocodiles, some lizards, some turtles, giraffes. If you ever get a chance, I recommend going out to the Steve Irwin Zoo. It's not as big as you would have thought it to be, but it is super well done and very cool. And they have this place called Bindi's Island where these lemurs actually are free roaming. You don't have to, they're not in a cage, but because it's surrounded by water, the lemurs are scared of water, so you get to see them kind of all by themselves and in more of a natural area, which was super cool to see. So then it was time for my cheetah encounter. So a few of us, I think there were 6 in total, we lined up in this area and we could see the cheetah van. So they put the cheetah in the van and drive it to this special area, and the cheetah gets out with this harness on, and there's literally 2 zookeepers standing right there holding a cheetah. Like, how cool is that? So her name was Bonnie, and she's about 8 months old. So still pretty new and still getting used to what the zoo life has for her. But she was really cool. They had an ice block for her to lick and cool down, which was made up of like cat's milk. So that was cool. And I got my really cool picture with her and got to pet her, and that was awesome. So then from there, I went to the Crocoseum, where they put on this little show for showcasing the animals and showing them off. And it was really cool. It was really well done, talking about what not to do if you see a crocodile in the water or when you're in the croc area. Showed off a lot of birds and talked a lot about some of the cool animals they have there. And then for some reason I thought, since I'm only an hour from Brisbane, I might as well go. So I bought a train ticket and left the zoo early and rode the plane down to Brisbane, so now I can say I've been there. Very different vibe from there compared to Sydney. Sydney's very fast-paced, very busy. Brisbane's very laid back, very quiet. But then I just got right back on a train and came back to Calandra. And then the next day was another busy day at the zoo, so I had to be there early again. So I got to the zoo right away in the morning and had my Madagascar lemur encounter. One of my favorite things as well that I've gotten to do. That was so cool. They were so sweet. They were hanging from trees, and we got to pet them and feed them, and that was super, super cool. And then while I'm walking around, I saw one of the tigers. They actually will take some of their big cats on a walk, just with a harness and 2 zookeepers, which that's so cool to see. Got to see more kangaroos. I went to the Crocoseum again to see the show, because why not? Might as well see it again. Saw a cassowary, saw a dingo. I paid for a Segway tour to go behind the scenes. Wouldn't recommend as much just because you don't actually see too much. But it was cool to get to ride a Segway, so I'll take that. And then I had booked a tour through the animal hospital that they have at the zoo. And so I went over there, and while I was waiting for the tour, I heard somebody say something about Robert Irwin, and I don't know, I didn't really know what I heard, so I just got up and went over to the window, and there Robert Irwin was. So that's Steve Irwin's son, and he was in the hospital, and that was one of my big goals, was to see one of the Irwins while I was at their zoo. So I got to see one. Woo! I felt like such a creep taking pictures of him, but hey, that's cool. He's probably the most popular celebrity I have met at this point, or seen. So then the wildlife tour through the hospital was super cool. We got to see where they put the animals that are in trouble or have been injured in some way. So that was cool to see, and see how well it's been done. They do an awesome job there, and especially with the bushfires right now, they are experiencing so many cases and patients through there. But it was super cool to see how hard their work was. And then I kind of was waiting around because I'm like, well, if Robert's here, that means one of the other Irwins. There's probably a good chance. And so I kind of was waiting outside, and there Terry Irwin, so Steve Irwin's wife, actually drove her vehicle through the parking lot and waved a little bit. So that was cool. So I got to see 2 out of 3 of the Irwins. So that was, I'd say, pretty well done. So that was a nice day, and then came back to the hostel and just relaxed because, to be honest, I was exhausted. And then got on the plane bright and early next morning, landed in Sydney at 9 a.m. because, well, it was New Year's Eve, and I had to do New Year's Eve things. So I quickly went to an appointment, and then got ready, packed my stuff up, and then went into the city and met my one friend, Emma. She had been there since 9 a.m. I didn't get there till like 4 p.m. So I felt bad because she had been sitting there all day, but she had been staking out our spot in Bradfield Park. And so it was just kind of a waiting game. We waited, found some other friends, kind of just sat around until about 8 p.m. And then they had like an air show go on. So this guy was flying this plane around, which was really cool. The funniest thing was this bat came and flew, and then everyone started cheering for the bat. So that was pretty funny. And then it started getting dark, and then they started the fireworks, and the fireworks were amazing, to be honest. Like, how cool. Like, this is probably the coolest way I've ever rang in the new year. It was just awesome. fireworks everywhere, shooting off the bridge, all up and down the harbor, up and down the river. So pretty. It was such a good night. Probably the best part was that I knew my mom was getting on a plane, so I knew she was going to be here very soon from New Year's Eve. So what better way to start off 2020 than with your mom visiting you in Australia? My next vlog will have her in it and feature all the fun things that, we've done and all the cool things that my aunt, my mom, and I did while they were here. So sad to see them leave, but it'll be a fun time with them, and I can't wait to see them. And then after that, I'll be vlogging about Taiwan. So it's going to be a busy month.